All right, Carrie, how you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. So this is a follow-up call to our coaching. So last time we got to know you better, we got to kind of dig in your background. And so you've been busy this month. We've probably been about maybe 3 weeks since we last chatted. And
Yes.
we got you set up on Final Surge. We got you set up and we pulled your existing plan into that, made a couple modifications, but for the most part, we didn't want to change your plan up too much this close to race. And so you have a race 1 week from now. So,
Yes.
and I think you're ready. But let's go back 3 weeks ago after that call. So I think the very next day you developed heel pain. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes, I did. So I kind of woke up the next morning and had some heel pain and even kind of some arch pain. And I kind of wrote it off at first just because I thought maybe I was tired from my long run. And then it continued throughout the day. And especially when I was wearing shoes that weren't very supportive, I could really feel it. And I got to the point where at school, when I was walking around, it was really hurting me. And so I know I had reached out to you and you had given me some tips and stuff. And so I went even to the store and got it said some plantar fasciitis shoe inserts. And so I tried that. And it was just really kind of painful, especially when I was running. And normally I'm not somebody who, has pain and has to slow down. Usually it's just like it only lasts a day or two. So the fact that this kind of was an ongoing thing, I really didn't know too much what to do. So it was nice kind of having you there to help me through it because I really would have had no idea. And I probably would have made it worse by just pushing through. But obviously you can't do that in some injuries. So anyway, I made sure that I was doing kind of the stretches that you were doing. We pulled it back some. Workout wise, I kind of was scared there for a minute, but you kept encouraging me that it'd be okay. So that definitely helped. And also like wearing the shoe inserts definitely helped. But I'm a big, I walk a lot barefoot, especially when I'm home. So whenever you had mentioned that, that's something I hadn't even thought of before because I always walk around barefoot. So I made myself wear shoes and made myself wear better supportive shoes. But yeah, it was definitely weird having that pain and not really knowing what to do or what it was, I guess. So
Yeah, I remember it was the next day after we
yes.
recorded, and I just sat there because we didn't know about it the night before, and
No.
oh my gosh, I was like, here we go,
Yes.
because
Oh, I know. I was like, great, he chose the wrong person.
no, actually, this is great. This gives us a challenge, right?
Yes, for
But
sure.
when you mentioned that you were having heel and arch pain, my first reaction was, oh my gosh, like we have to take this serious because we have an opportunity to catch it early. So the day
Yes.
before, it wasn't hurting, or at least you didn't notice it hurting, and so I was like, okay, we have an opportunity to catch it here early. And I think most people really make the mistake is we don't catch it early, or we don't do the right things early on, and then we end up getting and making it worse. And I was, because I struggled with that injury so much, um, it's the one thing that I think I know very well. And so I immediately knew it was like, we got to cut you back 50% of your volume. Like that first week, it's like all your runs were cut in half.
Yes, for
and,
sure.
and we even took a day or two off to kind of ease the inflammation that possibly could have been going on there. Right. I think we had you icing your feet a little bit.
Hmm.
We had you.
Yes.
Biggest thing was drop the volume, the training volume back considerably.
Hmm.
And then I just threw a whole bunch of stuff at you to do. And because one of the things with this kind of injuries, you don't know, one of those things might have fixed it, but I didn't want to take any chance being so close to your race. I'm like, we're going to do all the things
Yes.
and
Well,
we're
it
going to do
worked.
it quick. Yeah. So I'm thankful that it worked because it was it doesn't always work out as fast. I think
Hmm.
yours turned around pretty quick in 3 weeks. We were
I
able to
would
eliminate
I
it.
would say so. And, yes, it was a lot of stuff, but I also knew that I wanted to do it all just to be safe, like you said. And I wanted to fix it as soon as possible. And so even just writing it all down and making sure I did all those steps definitely helped. But it's been about I don't know, 5 days or so that I've actually had no pain. So it's been good. And even I'd be watching TV and I'd have, peas and corn and just have my feet. We did not eat those peas and corn, but I would ice those so I was doing something even when I was relaxing on the couch, whether that was stretching or icing. So just constantly thinking about how to better my feet, which was kind of funny. I thought about my feet more in like 3 weeks than I probably ever had.
Yeah.
So
I used to, I mean, I would sit there and wait for the workouts and go, oh my gosh, like I need to see the update. I need to see the update because I want to know how it went today, how it went today.
yeah.
I probably paid more attention than I normally would, just because
Yes.
you were so close to your race. There was we had no
Yeah, I
buffer.
I definitely was nervous there for a little bit, but
Yeah.
whenever I would go out and everything, I actually felt like I hadn't lost as much as I think initially thought I would. So, but yeah, definitely your helping and your advice, I would say, helped. Otherwise, I probably would have just completely wrecked my feet.
Yeah. And
So,
we knew the night before it was going to be risky because of how fast you ramped up. You ramped up in
yes.
5 weeks from very little running to almost 9 miles, I think it was at the time.
Yes, it
So
was, which is so crazy because even when you had said that, I was like, yeah, that is kind of fast actually. And then the next day, sure enough, it's like my feet hurt.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I jinxed you when I said about
No,
this is the point where we start seeing people fall apart, and that was exactly the point. So,
you just knew what
um,
was going to happen.
yeah. So for those watching or listening, what we did is we cut her volume down 50% right off the bat. We gave two rest days just to um, help reduce the inflammation. I had her go out and buy a very cheap pair of, I don't know what brand you bought, but they're like Dr. Scholl's usually is what,
Hmm.
in some sort of temporary insole. And so the goal was not to send you out to get expensive $100 inserts. We wanted to just take and temporarily remove the pressure where your foot normally was landing and just move it somewhere else to give kind of relief to that area. And so that was the
Yeah.
primary reason for that. Now we
And
do
I
want to,
actually got them at TJ Maxx. So I don't know if you know what TJ Maxx is,
yeah, they have
but
them up here.
okay, wasn't sure. So I actually got them there. So I got them even cheaper than I think I normally would have too. But there was a few different kinds there, and I just chose the one that I had more options on it too. So
Yeah.
that was
And
good.
we just want to change the elevation. Usually there's a little more heel lift in them. And so
Yes.
just helps take the pressure out the arch. And those are not something we're going to use permanently. They're just temporary because we want to strengthen your feet up with the exercises and the standing leg,
Hmm.
balance drills, and some of the other exercises that we prescribed. And then also the cross fascia massage where you're kind of massaging your arches a little bit. But a lot of different things that we had you do right off the bat. And then it wasn't that we wanted you to stop running either, because I say if we stop running, you're definitely not going to hit the base.
Yes.
Also, this is the kind of injury where you don't have to stop running. Usually, you just need to cut back and then work back in. But you can make it worse by if we hadn't cut you back, if we hadn't have taken that pressure off, you would have kept running it another couple of weeks. You could have had a chronic condition that would have took months to get over. So
Hmm.
you just never know. Or you could
No.
have had you may just had a mild strain too. So that's the good news. So we got past that. That was the big thing, that the big update over the last 3 weeks was really how to get you past that. And then I know you also had concerns because there was like a week where we cut you back and you weren't sure how you were gonna do the next long run.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to think. I think that was probably whenever I did 7 miles. So I had initially planned to try to do 10. It was probably better that I ended up doing 7. I ended up running out of daylight. I was wearing all black, and my husband actually was walking on the trail towards me, and he didn't even see me. That's how dark it is. So for one thing, do not wear black, even if it's light outside. But yeah, so I really wasn't sure, and I had some pain there, and I kind of had, as I was running had taken notes too of how it was feeling so that I could share that with you too. And for the most part, I did have some pain, but it wasn't like crazy, but I felt a lot better being able to do that and was like, okay, I'm not like dying like I thought I would be after cutting it back, or even like having to take some days of just stretching and resting.
Right.
So,
And you won't lose that fitness. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks before you start losing any significant fitness. So that's the good thing, is we were able to stay within that 2 to 3 week range as well. So I knew if we could get you through it, then you're going to be okay for races. And so the last long run you ran, or the longest run you ran, was how far?
it would have been 11 miles, and that was last Saturday.
Yep.
So a week from, sorry, hang on a second. A week from yesterday.
Right. Okay. And then, so then you were able to do a shorter run yesterday.
Yeah. So because it was kind of coming in a week before the race, I ended up doing, let's see, I think it was 7 miles yesterday. And so I actually had started, so every single time that I've ran, I've done kind of a run walk where I've walked a fourth of a mile and then ran the other 3/4. And so I have just always kind of been doing that. And yesterday I actually decided, I was like, what is the reason for me doing this? Is it because I'm extremely tired? Is it because I'm using that as an excuse, like, oh, let me just get, there to walk? And so yesterday I was like, I kind of want to see if I can just run it. I can't use my feet as an excuse anymore because they're feeling good. And so I was like, I'm just going to try to see if I can run it. I'm not going to make myself miserable by trying to go extra fast or whatever. And I just kept in my mind, some of the things that you had said about, if you run too fast and how I was breathing. So I wanted to focus all on that. And if I felt myself feeling really, really tired and breathing heavier, I kind of would slow myself down. And so I ended up running the whole 7 miles the whole way through, which to me is like a huge deal because but when I started this, I could barely run like 3 miles a full, like, or even 2, to be honest. I would at least walk somewhere in there. And so, whenever I started realizing a lot of it that was holding me back was more like mentally than actually my body. Like my body was like, we can do this. But my brain was the thing that was holding me back. And so whenever I kind of started digging into that, I guess I realized, okay, I think I can do this. I'm going to try and see if I can. And so when I ran the whole 7, I felt a whole lot better too, knowing that I can definitely, if not run the whole, I don't want to say that and then have to walk some, but if not run the whole half marathon, or just make it way farther than I thought that I could, rather than just run walking. So, which I had really initially planned to do. So,
Well, that's awesome. And yeah, I was happy when I saw your post. It was
it was really
all right.
excited.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I love hearing that, because one of the things I think we do sometimes when we get into an interval program, where we train ourselves actually to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of benefits of run walk, but there's also kind of the side that says, well, I'm running for 3 minutes so that I can walk a minute. It's like that 1 minute becomes your reward. And that's not to bash run walking at all. It's just that I have found that a lot of times it's hard to break out of that cycle mentally. And so just making that decision to just keep running, I thought was interesting. Like, you asked yourself a question, like, why am I doing this?
Yes. I was almost using it as a crutch too, I think.
Yeah.
Rather than like, oh, I wonder if I can I already know I'm just going to run walk this. Yeah. So it was, and even like I had mentioned in the video, there was, every time there was a hill, because I know at the half marathon, since it's by the beach, it's going to be flat. I even watched the video and I could see that everything is flat. And so I have been kind of skipping and making sure I would walk up all these hills. And this last time it's kind of a pretty big hill, and it's like a slow incline too. So it's kind of a long, big hill. And I would always walk it, and I asked myself again, like, am I using this hill because it's hard, or am I using it as an excuse? Why am I not running it? And so I decided to push myself up the hill, and sure enough, I made it to the top, and I was still alive. I wasn't dead. And so, and the good thing was there was actually a little downhill, so I kind of got a reward after that made it to the top. Got to go downhill a little bit too. So,
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to just kind of evaluate what I was doing rather than just being comfortable in the same routine that I was doing, whether that was run walking and making sure I was walking up the hill. I was just little challenges that I added in for my runs. So.
Okay. So one thing I want you to just be careful of with the hills, at least in the next few weeks, even past the post of the half, is that I want you running flat as much as possible, because the with the plantar fasciitis, especially the downhill piece where you tend to kind of come down, and you're putting more pressure on the forefoot, which is then straining the arch. So while you're certainly have cleared up a lot of that pain, we want to just give it a few more weeks of just watching and making sure we're not hitting hills too hard, because
Definitely.
that will cause you some potential problems if you're not fully healed.
Well, and it was whenever I was having pain, I definitely could feel like whenever I was going down hills, I mean, even if it was just like a little slight downhill spot, it was very painful. So
Yeah.
I was making those mental notes too, to even just watch myself and slow down or whatever I needed to do, walk a different part of the trail, because I definitely could feel that pain going down the hills for sure.
But don't worry, we're going to get you into some hills later.
Oh, great. Well, you could see my driveway. I mean, it's literally a mountain, so I'll just run up and down that.
We'll have some fun with those later. But the hills are great for building strength and building confidence, and building kind of that mental toughness that you sometimes, if you just go out and always run flat, you tend to just take things for granted. And so having those hills there is going to be fun for us to explore later once you're healthy.
Yes.
And we get you through the half. So this week I'm going to transition over. So actually, real quick, the mental side of things, just the way you're talking in the last 4 weeks since I've been in contact with you, I'm loving the mindset shift that I've seen you go through. So that's incredible. I just think in the last 3 weeks you've just been able to do so much, both from just dealing with the injury and I remember the post you made, like you could see the frustration a little bit, like, oh my God, I have this injury, and like this, like, oh my, what's going to happen in the race? But you've dealt with it really, really well. And so I think the cool thing is, knock on wood and make sure nothing happens in the next couple of days, wrap yourself in a bubble wrap.
Yes.
Don't, you should be able to head into this next weekend with running really, really strong. And I think you'll find out that on race day, you'll be perfectly fine, because you're going to have the energy, the crowd, you're going to have the excitement. You're going to be out apparently next to a beach. So that sounds
yes.
and I saw the race course when you posted the race course video. That race course looks beautiful. So
it is. It's really nice, and it's actually it's a private golf course. So that was kind of the reason my sister-in-law wanted to do it, so that she could go on there, because she's never been herself, and they've went down for years. And so we're kind of using this as an excuse, not really, but to see, because it's so beautiful. It really is. So, but yeah.
Well, cool. So let's just kind of head into this week and wrap up the video for heading into the race week, and then we'll do an update maybe in a week or two once you're through the race, and we've gone through maybe a few days of recovery, just so we can talk about the recovery process. But this week we're on the taper. So we actually, last weekend you ran your 11, and so we've been tapering technically since last week. But you had 7 miles yesterday. So each day heading towards the weekend, we're going to drop the miles slightly and let you get recovered up. And about 1 to 2 days before the race, I want you to start hydrating a little bit more. Don't overdo it, but you certainly want to be drinking. Make sure that you're not dehydrated. Nothing specifically that you need to do for a half, other than maybe increase your carbohydrate intake in those 2 or 3 days, or you can actually start doing it now. um, breads, pastas. You mentioned you're Italian, so you should just fit right in.
Yes, I
This
have
is,
some.
yeah,
This is the best week.
yeah, this is the best week for you. With the half, you don't need to overdo it though. So if this was a full, we would be, more pushing kind of the slow ramp up of carbs. But for a half, you don't want to get too bloated either and just eating too much and feeling like you just ate too much. But it's okay
Hmm.
to make sure that when you're looking at your plate of the food and what you're eating, that making sure that you're having a good mix of carbohydrates in there, a little bit of proteins and a little bit of fats. So just nice balanced meals. The night before the race, you're going to want to cut off your eating like 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. Some light snacking is okay, but you just want time for that food to pass through without getting gross. But you want to be able to wake up and then have a nice pre-race meal, 400 to 500 calories. Again, mostly carbohydrate, but a little bit of protein and fat with it. So I like to think bagel and peanut butter,
Yum.
or bagel and cream cheese, pancakes. Although pancakes can get a little heavy because I can't just stop and eat one. I end up piling them up too high.
Yeah, same.
But take even something as simple as like taking some Cheerios to the race so that you can have a little bit of, I've used Cheerios. I've used some of the more that they put so much crap and sugar in them, but the cereal, but you can, sometimes that's a good snack because it's got a lot of the sugar and the carbohydrate in it as well. So those are always good options to snack on, but don't go crazy and overeating either. Just 400 to 500 calories, which it's about the size of your fist. So a little bit, like I said, a bagel and cream cheese bagel and peanut butter is probably is good. So
Hmm.
whatever you've been practicing with on your other long runs, I know you've been running your long runs maybe a little later, but
Yeah.
what you have to be careful with is nothing significantly new on race day. So if
Uh-huh.
you're not used to eating bagels and stuff like that, then maybe you want to go with a more traditional breakfast that you're used to eating. Or
Yeah. I've kind of
um,
been doing similar to that. I've done I actually had leftover hot dog buns, and so I had a hot dog bun and I put some peanut butter and a banana on it. So I don't know if that was good, but that was kind of what I just grabbed,
yeah,
before my race, or not my race, my run. So,
yeah, and it doesn't have to be breakfast food either. So some people, if you run, let's say, run your long runs in the afternoons, have if you normally eat, a sandwich or something an hour or two before, that's fine too. Just something that you're not going in on an empty stomach.
mhm.
Um, you're probably fine on salts and electrolytes and stuff like that if you're putting salt on your food and eating a wide variety of vegetables and stuff. So there's not a whole lot you have to do with this half that you haven't already done as part of your training up to this point. Um, if you're going to fuel during the race, maybe one or two of the gel packets that we talked about.
Mhm.
You seem to tolerate them, or at least you mentioned that you didn't have any issues with them. Whatever
Yes.
you used on that 11-mile run, you'll want to use as well.
Okay.
Obviously, have your clothes set out the night before, your race bibs and all this stuff. If you don't have pickup that morning, um,
Yes.
have that
We're
already.
actually going to go the day before to pick those up. So,
Okay,
have that
cool.
ready.
And yeah, set your stuff out at night. Create the flat carry on the bed. Take the picture like it's
Yeah.
tradition. Um,
I've seen some of those lately. So I'm like, mental note.
yeah, I always take a picture of mine. I say this is flat Steve and this is fat Steve. So it's just,
No,
um,
that's funny.
but the yeah, just having everything ready so when you wake up, you just can get ready and then head out. Um, and then as far as I would not worry for this first one running. What don't. It's okay to have a goal, but I want your goal to be completion first.
Hmm.
And if you go through the races, you evaluate and you start feeling maybe things are okay, then if you want to push it a little more, you can. I just want you to be cautious with your foot, and I don't want to create something during a race that you're going to pay for a few weeks after. So
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
but because you're still in that chance of getting re-injured phase, so you really need to be careful,
Hmm.
at least for a few more weeks. And then once you're done with the race, first thing is rehydrate and get some food in you. And they'll have plenty of that at the finish line, I'm sure. So
I'm sure. Yeah, we're excited.
yeah,
I think there's like a little dinner, I think, after too. So planning on doing that. So I'm sure it'll have some good food there as well.
yeah,
So
nice. So do you have any questions for me? Anything this week that you feel like you need more information on, or what you should be doing specifically with your training? Anything that you can think of?
um I don't know. I guess I saw that there, I think on the um final surge thing, it was like, I guess 2 miles. And so I think twice. So I wanted to make sure, I guess, if that was good, or do I need to do more like cross training with that, or just strictly like on a run day, just run the two
Yeah,
miles or,
yeah. At this point, I would back off. So as you go through the week, I'd back off your strength training. You don't want to be doing
okay.
a heavy leg day. You don't want to be doing a
Yeah,
total body
definitely.
workout in those 2 to 3 days list coming up to the race. You're not going to lose strength that fast
Yeah.
either. So um,
Okay.
I usually, if this was a marathon, I'd say don't do anything this week other
Mm-hmm.
than those shakeout runs. Those 2 mile
Okay.
runs are more for anxiety and nerves than
Okay.
anything. At this point, there's nothing you can do training wise that's going to lead to a better outcome on race. In fact, you can only really hurt yourself. I don't mean hurt yourself injury. I mean hurt yourself in your performance of the race by doing too much. So
Okay.
you want to run enough to keep your legs loose and keep your mind settled so that you feel like you're still doing something. It's
Yes.
you're going to be fine. It's just those are just shakeout runs to keep the legs loose. Some light
Okay.
stretching and stuff through the week will be good for you. Some yoga's fine as well, as long as you're not stretching too deeply. You just don't want that really heavy leg workout or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that that's going to take several days to recover from.
Okay. Yeah, I've already been like, oh my goodness, there's only 6 days and it's actually happening. It doesn't seem real.
Yeah, it
So
came fast.
it did. It
It seemed
really,
like it was just a
it
couple weeks
seems
ago.
like it was forever, especially like with the injury, it seemed like that just drug out forever. And then all of a sudden I was like, it's officially a week. It's been, because I think I had about, when I had ever, she had asked, it was only 10 and a half weeks from the day she asked me to do the race with her to actual race day. So
Yeah, which is such a
definitely was
fast
fast.
ramp up. So
Yes. Well, and it's kind of funny because whenever I realized it was only 10 and a half weeks, I saw most training things are at least 6 months. So I thought, okay,
yeah,
let's see if we could do this.
6 months
So,
is a little long for a half. It
okay,
really depends on what shape you are heading into it. You
that's
went
true.
from nothing
Yeah.
to a half in 10 weeks, which is hard versus most people coming in. If you're able to run 4, 5, 6 miles, 10 weeks is fine.
Hmm.
But you weren't running regularly
No.
enough. So yeah,
Well, and
so
it's so crazy how even in just the 10 and a half weeks, how much like I personally have changed. I mean, I went from literally hating running to taking the different tips and stuff that you gave me to actually being excited for it. Like I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh, today I get to go run. Oh, and it's only 7, no big deal. And I'm thinking the thought of even walking 7 miles. I mean, my husband plays golf, and so he would be in some tournaments and I would have to walk sometimes, and I would usually, if I walked the whole thing, it would be 6 miles, and I would usually only walk like half of like the first 9 holes, just because I was like, 6 miles, I can't even walk that. And now I'm running 7 and 10 and 11. It's just so crazy
yeah,
how I've changed. It really is crazy. I would have never thought I would be here now. Honestly, I wouldn't think it was possible. So it's been
yeah,
neat.
yeah. It was like I said, I was so happy that the PF worked out the way it is. Like
Definitely.
it's one thing it's not that hard to fix. It's just hard to fix in the time frame that most people want it fixed.
Hmm.
And you luckily we caught yours so early on, and if that had been something you were dealing with chronically for a month or two before us working together, you probably would have had 4 to 6 months.
Hmm.
Not
I'm
always.
sure.
Yeah, not always. Sometimes I've been able to apply a couple of things at once, and it's made a pretty rapid change. It just depends on the severity of how inflamed that plantar fascia is, and if there's any tearing, which in your case I don't think there was because you healed really fast.
Yeah.
It just became inflamed.
I definitely think, like you said, catching it early and realizing definitely helped, because I honestly would have probably just kept pushing through, making it worse. So the fact that it was caught, the next day, I think was really good too. So
Yep.
definitely helped.
All right. Well, let's wrap up here, and we'll do another check-in here in a couple weeks when we come on video. We'll obviously talk between now and then. We'll probably be talking quite a bit this week and next week to get you through this, and then we'll be celebrating next time we get on the call.
Yes, yay!
We'll look at next steps and how to work that evil hill into your training plan.
Yes.